Hi, Zizaran here with another video, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing the developers at Moonbeast Productions, and you guys have some heavy hitters in the ARPG industry. Thank you so much for being here today, and we're here to talk about your new game, which doesn't have a title yet. It's just Moonbeast game right now, and yeah, how are you guys doing?
Doing great. It's very like I said before, and no one wants to hear it again. But I'm nervous speaking in front of the public, so bear with me if I get garble mouthed.
It's all good. It's all good. Um, well, how about we start with some introductions because especially for our younger audience, they might not be super familiar with a lot of your earlier work. So, Phil, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how long it's been. It seems like just yesterday. Uh, Phil Shank, I met Peter and Eric at Blizzard North when I came to work on Diablo 2. I came to work on Diablo 2 specifically because Diablo 1 took way too much of my time and I really wanted to be a part of it. Probably one of my best, I would say the most influential and the time of my life and professionally with the fondest memories was those times working on that game and the expansion set, and we all stayed friends for many years. We worked at Flagship Studios together. I started as an artist. I was lead artist on Diablo 2. I worked on the Amazon and the Necromancer and the Assassin. Did a lot of skill design and lore design. It's really just, I didn't know how lucky I was at the time, but I really appreciate it now. And it's super great to see that so many people still playing the game that we made so long ago. And that's, why we're still at it, because we like making things for people that love these kinds of games.
Yeah, I mean, we also have
Yeah.
like Shenk the Overseer, right? It's named after you, so
Mm.
it's very cool. Most people are familiar with that.
Yeah. I don't know if yeah, that's I don't, it's a weird, yeah, I'm both honored and a little bit, I don't know, humbled or something by it.
Yeah, it's also.
I try not to, I try not to, I try not to be that bad in real life.
All right. Also, Eric, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'm Erich Schaefer. I kind of fell into the computer game business by accident. Didn't really plan on it, but it just kind of started to happen. Started a company with my brother Max and David Brevik, still a longtime friend, lives nearby me here. And we just started making games, and the first game we made was Diablo, essentially. We made some little work for hire games before that. But Diablo was David and I's labor of love design talking about for a long time as we tried to get this company off the ground floor. We were so small that we kind of had to do everything. So I did the interface art, I did all the background art in Diablo 1. Was kind of art director and design guy. So I kind of did a million things.
Yeah.
Then as we got bigger, as Diablo was successful, we hired guys like Phil and Peter here and a lot of other extremely talented guys who were much better at art and various things than me. So I just stayed with design the whole time, and I've been doing that for my whole life, kind of starting companies, designing games. It's the only real reason I found that you can design a game that like you want to do it is to actually start the company, which has worked out pretty well for me over the time. We made, well, after Blizzard, we kind of had a disaster with Hellgate London, but it did a lot of really cool things. There was really fun design stuff to work on. So I have semi-fine memories of that until it exploded. Then went on to Runic Games, dragged along Peter here, and we made the Torchlight games. And then I quit that company to start up a new two-person studio with my buddy Travis Baldry. We made some Rebel Galaxy spaceship games, kind of my only break from ARPG stuff. Then sucked back into this Moonbeast because Phil and Peter had such a great little base of a game going, and we had so much fun talking about it. I just had to get involved again, so I'm happy to be back, kind of where I started,
Cool.
designing, doing a lot of things, having a good time.
It's a very good story. Peter, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. First off, I'd like to say Eric is much better at public speaking for someone who hates it / is afraid of it. So that was good.
Sure.
Yeah, very similar to Phil. Diablo 1 was my favorite game of all time up to that point. And so I really just wanted to get involved. I've been working at 3DO before then. I took a over 50% pay cut to work at Blizzard North to start working on the Diablo uh, series. And it was totally worth it. It was awesome. Yeah, so I got my start. I'm a programmer / designer. Worked on Diablo 2, Diablo 2X, Hellgate London, Torchlight. Eric already covered all those, Torchlight 1 and 2. After that, I left to work with Dave Brevik again on Marvel Heroes Online. And between Marvel Heroes Online and this, I worked on Mythgard, which was like a collectible card game. It really taught me not to ever work on anything free to play ever again. So just not going to want to do that. Um, Brian Basic, who is one of our really talented engineers here at Moonbeast, also worked in Mythgard with me. He's responsible for um, just a lot of the like the terrain deformation, and he's our only graphics programmer, and also does network stuff. Just really amazing guy. Um, I tend to work on optimization, network architecture, itemization. I do a lot of systems design, sort of combat formulas and things like that, stat systems. Pretty much a lot of the like core ARPG systems.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Well, you guys are responsible for a lot of my hours in video games. So yeah, it's a lot of hours played. So thank you for that introduction, and again, super excited to be here talking to you guys. All ARPGs are a very large part of my life. Um, and I guess since you all worked so much on like Diablo 2, is there anything in particular that you really liked and disliked about the game?
I find it really hard to play. I played a lot of D2R just because I love to switch between our old graphics and the and their new take. I thought they did such a beautiful job. I was cringy at the idea of remaking the game, but it really came out pretty cool. But I have a hard time playing it just because I've seen it too much, and all I see is the flaws. And what we could have done better, and why did we do things like that back then? And I kind of that's almost true of all the games I make. It's very hard for me to play afterwards. But I can remember a lot of great times while making the game. Best I think I feel like the best individual time was coming up with the corpse explode skill. I was trying to kind of push the boundaries there, and I just wanted to make things go crazy. And it felt great. For a long time, the skill description was the greatest skill of all time. I doubt it stayed. I never know what stayed or what didn't. But so I think just when we make a new skill, I kind of find that happening in this game today too. It's like when we get a new skill, a new way to play into the game, I don't know, I take incredible joy at that.
Yeah.
My biggest negative was for sure just the crunch and the physical toll and the mental toll it took on so many of us on Diablo 2. The industry standards for that kind of thing were pretty crazy back then. We were just working all day and all night.
Yeah.
I have mixed memories of that one.
Yeah. Not bad. Bill?
Actually, that reminds me. Like, so my thing, one of my big things,
Mhm.
in terms of what I didn't like about D2 was it's not so much the crunch because I was really young then. I was able to work 140 hours a week or whatever it was, and that was fine. But afterwards, like no one wanted to work on the game. Like everyone was just like, we're sick of this. And D2 is a game that was on seller charts for like 10 years after its release, and it got very, very little support. So that's one of my huge regrets. Like there's so much we could have done to keep on working on that game and expanding it and adding content and stuff. And just like people were so burnt out from the experience that we never really set that up. It was one of the really early live service games,
Yeah.
and especially one that didn't have a subscription. So it wasn't really set up for that. And it shouldn't have had a subscription. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it should have had a subscription, but there wasn't like a business impetus, right, to
Yeah.
assemble a team and work on it.
Well,
So even though it's a game I really loved.
then I'm really curious about a quick follow-up. How do you guys feel about like community projects and like Path of Diablo and Project Diablo 2 and seeing how they've like kept iterating on it?
Yeah, I mean, Peter's
Love
the
it.
guy to ask here.
Yeah.
He keeps
Yeah, I
he keeps
mean, one of the big things I worked on throughout Diablo 2 towards the end and for the patches was to make it more moddable. And so I was really hoping to see people do that. And I wish I'd been able to do more. Like what is there is cool, but there's still a lot of things that people couldn't do.
Yeah.
And it's like I always loved the mod community.
But that's why with our game, our current Moonbeast game, I guess I'll call it, although it does have a name. I hope I don't say it by accident here.
That was actually
Uh,
a question for, like, do you have a name and is it secret?
we do have a name, and it is secret for a couple of reasons, but mostly, well, I don't know. That's mostly Phil's department. But with the Moonbeast game, Peter made it very clear, and Phil and I are completely buy in to make this super moddable and allow people to mod it way better than we've done with previous titles. And it's already built into the game now. You could just turn on the mod tools while you're in the game and change stuff around. It's pretty cool for development too, but it is a goal of our current game.
Awesome. Phil, what about you? Anything that really stood out to you as like positive or negative about the D2 experience?
Yeah, it's crazy thinking back, like where games were at that time, because so much has changed that we take for granted now. But I was just reminiscing as y'all were talking, and I remember when Diablo 1 came, I was at a different company and we were working on an ARPG that was inspired by the video game Gauntlet, so it was kind of an ARPG.
Mhm.
And then Diablo 1 came out, and it just seemed so visceral. Like I had played a lot of Ultima growing up
Oh, nice.
and old school kind of games like Temple of Epshai and Gateway to Epshai, like just like the really old original, graphical RPGs. And this was so different. You could run around. The combat was really visceral. The combat was active. Um, and Diablo 1 feels very primitive by today's standards. But the chance to work on, like I think all of our dreams, especially Peter and I, like have playing Diablo 1 and then thinking like, holy cow, where can this go from now? And we were imagining a big open world and a sense of exploration and really expanding the scope of, the whole game, and getting a chance to work on that and then seeing it unfold over, I mean,
Yeah.
it was years, but that was just, it was just so cool. And it stuck with me, and that sense of, I think for me, that sense of exploration and expansiveness in a game, especially in an ARPG, is something that I've always been chasing that high.
Mhm.
I think the high point for me, aside from that, uh, well, there's two that I can think of. As an artist back then, nobody was specialized. So we all get to work on, at least if you had the skills, you got to work on everything pretty much from start to finish. So being able to concept a character class, model it, animate it, texture it, make all the skill VFX for it was really super rewarding. Um, and then towards the end of D2, uh, they tapped me and Tyler and a small crew to like go start to do the Vanguard work on the expansion set. And that was also very fun because a lot of that was about the world building. Like prior to that, Diablo 2 didn't really have a world.
Yeah.
We didn't have a map. So like getting to just design the map of the world and name the world, coming up with Sanctuary and the idea of the World Stone and how this all worked, and seeing that all come together and kind of lay the groundwork for where the IP went after Diablo 2 was also, those two things I think were the high
Yeah.
points for me of getting in that game.
Awesome. There's some lag on your end there, I think, but hopefully it'll sort itself out. It might just be Discord. Let's see. Actually, I think it's stabilized now.
Lag or control lag?
I think it's good now. So is there any chance we get the name of the game, or is that going to stay secret for a while longer? Okay.
No. I mean, we've done so much revealing about the game already, and we really do want to do a proper game announce at some point, which is kind of weird since we've already shown the game and let people play the game. But that's a big marketing beat that a
Yeah.
game gets, and so that's one thing that we're going to hold in our deck.
That's fair. What,
We do want to live with it for a little while too. Just
Yeah.
make sure it's the name we want.
No, that's fair. That's fair. What other, like, games are you drawing, like, the main inspiration from?
For me, this kind of sounded a little bit strange. Well, there's a couple games I play all the time, but they're not ARPGs at all.
Okay.
There's Minecraft,
I was hoping that.
and yeah. So Minecraft, has a completely modifiable, destructible but buildable world. You change it to however you want,
Yeah.
and we're trying to, you see inklings of that right now in the current game the Moonbeast game, but we really can go a lot farther towards that sort of gameplay and creativity. We kind of iteratively try. We take stabs at it and we play around with it, and then we move on, and then we come back. But we will be able to do some pretty incredible things. Not a full Minecraft world, but this world you're in, you can make it your own, and we will make that part of the fun game. Part of the fun game.
Because one thing I was talking about this on stream earlier. Obviously, your game is procedural generation, and something I always thought was super cool because I do play a lot of Minecraft, and my kid loves it and stuff. Something I always think is so cool is you crest a hill, and suddenly there's like a little village or a town or something that's spawned and regenerated, and you get to explore it. And I think that's something you guys have like so much potential of here. So yeah, I was talking about Minecraft earlier actually, so that's cool to hear.
There's another game that is inspiration for me, even stranger, is Civilization. I play Civ, mostly Civ 6, but any of the Civ games relentlessly. I play them over and over. And the way you explore the map is a lot different than the way you explore ARPG maps. You move around and you reveal new areas, kind of like you were saying in Minecraft.
Yeah.
But what I want to kind of bring in from the Civ feeling is you come across things in the world that then change how you want to play the game. If maybe you'll find a sector. We have, as you probably saw, you reveal those sectors by walking into a sector. You see what sectors are adjacent to it. Right now, that we don't have a ton of material in those. They're very similar. A lot of them have some cool stuff in them, but I really want them to be very different and find different sectors in different games that'll change how you play. So if you start to find more snowy mountain sectors, and you start fighting frost giants and things like that, versus somebody else might almost never find those, or take late in the game till they find.
Yeah.
We want it to be that procedural and really, change up the replay completely. Whereas I feel like modern ARPGs are very linear. I like Diablo 4. I like Diablo 4 a lot, but I can't replay it because I know the map exactly. I know where everything is. The dungeons are barely randomly generated. So for me, that kind of kills replayability. So I want to lean into that in this game because I really, that's how I develop too. That's how I design games is I just relentlessly play our game, tweak it, think little ideas, and it's got to stay fresh for me, or I can't keep with it. I can't play as much as I do. So freshness in replay is super important to me.
Awesome. Peter, do you have any other games that you draw inspiration from?
Yeah, I have a few others. Though, Civ and Minecraft are high on my list as well. But recently, I've been taking a long look at fighting games and platform games. So, one of the early inspirations was Super Mario Galaxy, Castlevania Symphony of Night, but just like the tactile feel of platformers. And even more recently, just fighting games. In general, I think I haven't stuck with one long enough to make it a real thing, but just like how fighting games are so responsive and the way that combat feels in them, and just like they developed in almost their own ecosystem with like really cool like design ideas in terms of how it all works. So yeah, those are some of my things.
And Phil, what about you?
Similarly, Minecraft. My kids, I was into Minecraft when it first came out, and then my kids got into it, and it reawakened that interest in me. And Minecraft. I mean, Chris Wilson really recently did the thing about his Minecraft and ARPG, and like there's a lot of breadth in ARPG, but ARPGs typically are a more robust loot and progression mechanic. So it's not that part of it. And it's not even, it's a little bit of the building, but it is, like you said, like the sense of exploration of coming
Yeah.
over a crest and really discovering like a vast chasm in the middle of the mountain, and you're like, whoa, what's down there? And that sense of wonder, it's so much of why I make games, still is trying to recapture that sense of wonder. Another like an old game that I bring up sometimes, during Diablo 2, we were playing Ultima Online, and that was another big, expansive take at the RPG
Yeah.
genre. And the promise there was you can do anything, you kill a cow and the dragons will get hungry and attack your village. And,
Mhm.
a lot of that didn't play out, but a lot of stuff did play out, being able to build houses and, and just explore and like find stuff. Like, even though a lot of the games back in the day were on rails, they were big maps. You couldn't go online to just look up, a play guide. And so seeing a cave on the other side of a mountain range and trying to find a pass, like that feeling,
Mhm.
is what I'm trying to recapture. And I think what we're all trying to recapture. And it's difficult to do in today's age, and the procedural generation and the dynamic worlds. And like Eric was talking about, every world is different and things can happen in your world that don't happen in my world, and things can happen dynamically inside the world, like in the demo. I don't know, did you show it on your stream where you reveal the lich, the
Yeah, yeah.
necropolis? And
I did the
yeah,
Lich, and it was a lot stronger this time than the first time I played it. So I actually
yeah,
had a very easy time fighting Lich this time, and the whirlwind started going back to normal and stuff, but still, like, the ruins were there. It was really cool. I loved showing that part off, and this time I also found like the misty zone with like the sun. The sun was there, the super
yeah,
glowy creature.
yeah. So
Oh, the,
yeah, that kind of stuff just drives me, I think.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm really excited to hear about that. And obviously, the game is in pre-alpha right now. There's quite a lot of interesting features that we don't see in a lot of other RPGs. Like, you have like terraforming, which you traditionally only see in games like Valheim, 7 Days to Die, and like Survivor games. So I'm really curious. That's super unique. I can't think of another ARPG that has straight up like terraforming and world building to that sense. Are you looking to implement like a Valheim kind of like, city building, house building, like that type of stuff into your game?
yeah, I think we are. I've got some great ideas. They're just early ideas though on how to do that. I am a Valheim fan. I don't know that we'll get into piecing together your house out of boards so much. But I don't know. It kind of can go that way. We can kind of brick together stuff with the editors and in-game editors we have right now. I don't know if the player wants to do that much,
I
but
do.
okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, but to incorporate that into the ARPG flow, where you're constantly just trying to upgrade loot and trying to get to the next level and trying to get the standard reward feedback stuff. Do you want to take a break? Do you want to collect resources, take a break, go back and build your stuff? I think that sounds really fun, and I think you do, and I think we're going to have good reasons to do so. You probably noticed in the game now, you can get ownership of these sectors by doing usually very rudimentary quests. Right
Yeah.
now, you can like kill 10 monsters or whatever. But we will. I think this idea of ownership of sectors, then you'll allowed to build in them with some limitations, with resources that survive, that give you powers beyond that sector, that can boost magic, can boost all kind of secondary things. Is a reason why you'd want to own these things, and then we probably have monsters push back on your ownership. Maybe at nighttime
Yeah.
they're coming in. Monsters, yeah, try to raid your building, break them down, but you could build up defenses. I want to play around with all that stuff. We've had it in past iterations, like I don't know, almost a year ago. You could build like arrow towers and those kind of things, and they're really fun. And that could easily come back in. We kind of took a pause on that as we kind of made it really look and feel like an ARPG. Get all the experience loop and the item loops in there.
Yeah.
So. It'll come back, and it'll come roaring back in a pretty cool fashion, I suspect.
So I was saying on stream earlier that like a dream for me would be like Valheim meets Path of Exile meets King's March. I don't know if you played the Settlers League in Path of Exile, but it's basically you're managing a city. And I love the idea of an ARPG having not just like my own house building, but also like helping a city grow, NPCs moving in, creating like maybe some sort of in-game economy. Is that something that you're like potentially thinking about? Because like that would be crazy.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. That's kind of 100% what I was saying. It was almost more managementy
Yeah.
and getting one thing I loved is Master of Orion back in the day. You'd come across these heroes and you could kind of bring them onto your ship or something.
Yeah.
But earning the heroes, I kind of think like earning the NPCs. Maybe you do quests to rescue them, and this is another way we can have games be very different. Is which NPCs are out there. And so, yeah, populating a town, making it your own, managing it with economy, those kind of things for sure. 100% work into the model we have. Because I think, again, one of the reasons why we have a very unique game, and it's revealed by this Lich event, where the little town you start in is completely destroyed by the Lich event. It's never coming back.
Yeah.
We don't need that big a map. For one, I should mention that we probably will have just kind of an infinitely growing map along the lines of Minecraft if you just want to keep exploring forever. But if you want to just hang, we're going to have reasons why it's okay to be in the same area you are. As you build up a town, as new threats come in, we can have events and magic things going on that change the entire landscape. You could try to preserve it. You could try to instead go with it. Maybe you love the necropolis. Maybe you want to build necropolis stuff. Still kill the Lich, but let me become kind of a Lich myself and run this whole necropolis world. All those are possibilities because of our complete, the infinitely modifiable terrain, destruction. All leads to that kind of stuff.
Well, that's very excited to hear that. Like that's things we don't really see in other ARPGs as well. And what you were saying there's pretty much exactly what I was like saying was like a dream. So that's very cool. We don't see that anywhere else.
When we talked before, Zizaran, a little bit after you had first played the game, your excitement and imagination about it was one of the things that struck us, I think, because not everybody sees it. Do you want to talk a little bit more about, having played it and heard us talk a little bit, like what kinds of things along those lines, along the lines of like, players doing things in the world that are persistent, that feeds back into the loop. Where does your head go?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, right? Like as soon as I saw this, I was like, I have so many ideas. I want to talk to these guys. Like, there's such a cool base here, right? Like when I saw like the lava being extinguished by water and like water tower, I didn't find that in this world actually to show my chat. So obviously it is procedurally generated and it just didn't happen here. Like you could have like a certain zone could be like maybe there's a volcano near it, maybe it erupts sometimes, and then you either got to figure out like you got to have like your water spells at a high enough level to be able to like do that, or like build a wall to like divert the lava. You could have like a dam in the area that you could break. There's so many cool ideas like that, and especially if it's multiplayer, you could work together with your community. There's just like so many crazy ideas that would like we actually don't see in any other ARPG. There's just nothing with that like possibility or base. Obviously a lot of that stuff is very exciting, and yeah, I mean, I actually have a lot of ideas we can keep talking about, but we can go back to it a little bit, because one thing I really want to ask you about is how do you see, like, how many people are going to be playing together? Like, do you think I'm going to be able to have, like, 100 people on my server, 1,000 people, 10?
Peter? That's Peter,
yeah. Yeah. Peter, question.
He's the one that made it happen, so he should talk about it.
Yeah. We're using a very unique network infrastructure for this game, and it's untested. It's tested internally, obviously. We're hoping to get, as many people as we can fit on, whether it's hundreds or thousands. We're going to push the boundaries on that. Like, our ideal really is to be able to have shards with very large communities, similar to like the old school MMOs like UO or EverQuest or whatever, because like Phil said, UO was one of our big inspirations. So
yeah,
that's something we totally want to do. So yeah, I mean, we haven't tested it with that many people yet, but we're definitely gonna. We have a lot of time to work on that, and a
Awesome.
lot of it is
So,
optimization and stuff.
so like a goal could be that eventually, obviously I'm guessing this is gonna have to scale up over time, but eventually I'm gonna hopefully be able to play with at least like 100 people, maybe more from my community, and make like a world that's like expanding, then maybe multiple
Yep,
people having different cities. Have you guys talked about player versus player at all?
yep,
Oh, we will definitely have player versus player. I think that would be big worlds like this with lots of players, communities coming together to fight the other communities. All those are great goals. We will definitely play around with all that kind of stuff. As soon as we get multiplayer working every now and then, and you immediately start having to fight each other pretty early on because it's just too fun to do. While also. But yeah, we will definitely have PvP, and I hope almost group wide scale PvP, long term PvP goals, that kind of thing.
Sounds very cool.
We're promising everything in the world. It sounds like we have so many great ideas to go with this. Some of them will take longer than others. I do want to caveat.
Yeah.
Part of
And
like what people are
oh, sorry, go on.
like what people are talking about in chat is, it's sort of the freedom to, and what you mentioned in your stream was the freedom to kind of create your own community worlds.
Hmm.
So a lot of what we're talking about is, falls under the blanket of these are all like wonderful, cool, amazing ideas, and they might not all end up in the core game. But even then, we can provide those features for people to turn them on and off, or like especially like PvP or realm versus realm, or the size of your worlds, or how many people can connect it, and can you portal between worlds, and can you take items between worlds, and is it a closed economy or a shared economy, like all that kind of stuff probably more going to be like levers that you can set up
Yeah.
for your own world. I mean, like I know what you do with Gauntlet. You kind of set the template for
Yeah.
what a community person can do for a live event, and that's kind of where we want to go with this. It's like less of we tell you how to play the game, and more let players and communities figure out new ways to play the game.
You're effectively
And I
providing a
think,
sandbox, right?
yeah, like a sandbox that is curated.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, you can do any old thing that doesn't make any sense, and there's no feeling of place or progression or
Good.
anything. Um, but yeah, we're trying to. We sort of feel like games in general and ARPGs, kind of in particular, have gone more on rails, and more like this is the way to play, and
Yeah.
and overly designed, and some better and some worse. It's all different examples. Whereas Diablo 2, I think, is one of the reasons it's still played today is because there are lots of ways to play it, and
Yeah.
people are still finding weird builds, and we didn't design those builds, or Eric didn't design those builds. We just designed cool skills and cool classes, and then people figured out how do items and skills play together against certain kinds of enemies in certain situations, and it's kind of a sandbox approach to game, and we're just trying to blow that out of the water, with the world and the dynamic worlds, and like the NPCs that might or might not spawn, and you could have rare and elite NPCs that can
Yeah.
do things like make quests happen in your world that then causes this cascade of events. Like, yeah, just sense of wonder, exploration, trying to take the guardrails off of games and let people just have fun again.
I mean, I love that, and that's like a natural way to do quests, right? You can be out exploring and you see like an NPC in danger from monsters, or like a town in danger from goblins or whatever, right? And you save the town, and maybe some of those people want to work for you or stuff like that. There's so much like naturally occurring quests there that I think would be really cool. Yeah.
I just want to say one more thing so I don't forget about it. Like when we first started going down this road, we asked ourselves the questions like, well, what if the game breaks, or what if it doesn't turn out like we wanted it to, or whatever. And as we started building, more and more the answer was like, it doesn't matter, like stop trying to control the outcome. And that's kind of the fun, like that you rescue the NPC, and they might get killed, or they might fall into lava, or they might, you know, this organic stuff that can happen in your game. And that's a lot of what Minecraft's about. It's like organic, unpredictable, weird, wacky stuff. And it goes against some of the, like, what we think is true in ARPGs, but watching people play it and have fun, and that surprise and delight that happens, I think shows us that we're on the right path. At least I hope so.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw a lot of people in chat already saying, like, how can they, like, try the game? Is the best way to, like, get on the mailing list on the Moonbeast website?
Yeah. And we hope to do that soon. Part of it's the scaling, part of it's like when the timing of it. But yeah, we would love to get more people than just the blessed few playing the game. So we don't have a time frame, but that's the best place. That and our Discord are where we'll be first announcing chances to do that.
Cool. Yeah, I think we'll have a bigger scale the next time we do a public test type of like this. One of the reasons is it's just really hard to get like a polished, low bug. I wouldn't say the game is no bugs that you're playing today, for instance, but it takes a lot to get it, polished and crisp and let people play it, which kind of interrupts development time pretty significantly to get it to a state like that. So we can't just always do it. We're too small a group and we have too much to do. So we kind of got to put that stuff on hold. The game right now, it's got a whole bunch of new stuff, but half of it's kind of sloppy, and we just don't want sloppy stuff out there until we bring it all together. But
yeah, I was saying that to my stream. Like, it's pretty rare that I get to show off a game in this raw state, and I think that was really cool and in a lot of ways, like, brave of you guys, because it is scary to show off a game in this state when it is really raw, and like Phil said, not everyone is going to see it because you don't always consider or factor in like where in the progression a game is. But I've played a lot of pre-alphas. I'm very often under NDAs for those, so I can't share them, and this is like blown me away how far along you guys are, and there's so much really cool stuff there. And especially with like when you're talking about like the gathering and stuff, like a thing that the RuneScape developers are doing with their new Dragon Wilds game is obviously you have like spells and like actual like moves to do gathering, and V Rising does that a little bit too, where you can actually gather with your moves. So that's something you could potentially do too, right? Where you start out, you're mining with a pickaxe, and then eventually you're just like dropping an anvil, or maybe you're like smelting the ore as you're getting it with like spells and moves. There's so much like potential for cool stuff there.
Yep, sounds good. We've been talking about that ourselves.
Yeah, awesome. One thing that people are going to be very curious about is seasons, how servers will work. Is there going to be a server authoritative model, and can you do offline play? And especially when it comes to like, is an item legit or not? Has somebody just loaded that in on an offline save file? Like, I don't know if like Peter's the best to talk about this, or.
Yeah, maybe I am. So we definitely want to provide like official servers. Again, the network architecture is server authoritative. It's very different than what we've used in the past, but we want to be able to have that. In terms of offline play, I think that's a decision that we'll have to make in conjunction with whoever's publishing the game with us. So that's not something that we've determined yet. The engine is capable of offline play. We do it when we're developing, oftentimes, on our desktops. And, it's capable of doing local server and stuff like that. But whether or not we enable that in a final release is TBD. It's not entirely up to us. There's definitely scenarios where we would have that, local servers, total offline, all of that. I don't know if that answered.
Yeah, so there will be, in the terms of our official servers, there will be legit items, right? Hopefully there's no exploits, but you never know. So if you could go into somebody else's world and bring your stuff, as long as it's on our authorized servers. Other people would have to decide, hey, if I'm hosting my own server, which we, again, not exactly sure what the model is here, but if you can make and host your own servers, you will be able to decide, what people can bring in. Only legit items, whatever, who cares what they bring in, that kind of thing. Cool. So I think there'll be a variety of server types.
Awesome.
And you'll be able to create, even if you, like Peter said, we haven't decided, but you will be able to create your own realm or set of realms, like your server that's on our thing, like we've talked about the community-based servers. And one of the things we've talked about, I mean, I think we even chatted with you about it a little bit, is, a closed economy within that set of realms, So like if you want to create your own event, you might make it really hard or easy, or certain things are dropping, or certain, bosses are over spawning, and so that economy, that's the cool thing about that economy. It's like, it's a different kind of race. It's a different kind of event. About the, you asked about seasons, and we get asked this a lot. And we're trying to look at it from a very high level of, seasons kind of means a specific thing. Seasons or leagues, whatever you want to call it. And really what people are looking for, we think, is that sense of something to look forward to that's on a cadence, something new, some new big shared event or whatever, that everybody is engaged with and everybody is excited about and everybody's talking about and figuring out ways to beat it, and the talks about the meta and all that. So that's where we're starting, like in our game model, what's the best way to do that? And we don't know yet, but it's more likely to, because everybody's world is different, and we imagine people are really going to have a lot invested in their world. It's not like an instance of a game that you're going and playing and it's disposable and interchangeable with everybody else's instance of a game. Even ARPGs that have procedural generation, it's more like, oh, this is the arrangement of things, and it's not the wholesale, geology of the world. So, we like the idea, like we tried to demonstrate with the Lich event, that things are happening to your world, big things, big, epic, literally earth-shaping things, and that changes your population and changes what you're chasing and changes like your personal meta that you're trying to do in the world. But we also like some kind of shared experience. So, like one example would be is if a thing like the Lich event was a seasonal release, and it was happening to everybody's world, the outcome would be really different because everybody's starting from a very different place, but you still get to talk about it and experience it and share, videos about it, and everybody's video is going to be really unique and different. And that's good for you guys, because everybody gets their own TV show with a completely different plot, with a similar theme. So that's kind of a lot of talk about our general philosophy about it, but less constrained and bespoke and more, just a big shared experience that everybody can engage with in different ways.
So just to make sure I'm understanding, so you are basically going for like a live service model then. You're not looking to like release a game and that's mostly it finished unless you go back for DLCs or something, that you're looking to make fairly regular updates to this?
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's where our head goes and the community goes. And that's, I think, what makes it really interesting, like the cadence of that and how it happens and the scheduling and what you need to do to trigger these things. And like, that's still TBD, but we're building the game to support all of this stuff. Like we could let creators like yourself trigger their own events that are totally off of our schedule. Like just happens to work out for you. It's like, I want to do an event this Q1, and I talked to Moonbeast and I'm going to put these things together and pull these things out of the archive and put it all together and promote it. And, that's another way that can happen adjacent to, what we do as a company.
Yeah, I mean, especially for me personally, that sounds so fucking cool because my peak gaming experience in life, I think, was the Gates of Ahn'Qiraj in World of Warcraft opening, and the entire server came together. Everybody was working towards a common goal. We're like gathering the resources, and then the huge fight. I remember I asked my parents, can I stay home from school and like skip school today and do this? And they were like, yeah, you can. This sounds really cool. I really pitched them on it, and it was like the coolest thing. It was such a cool event. All my friends were there, and being able to like replicate something like that in an ARPG and like do that type of event where everybody's working together for something sounds like so interesting. It's so cool. So I'm just, kind of at the edge of my seat here for sure. So have you talked about what type of like monetization model you guys are going for at yet, or is that too early?
Well, Peter already said he never wants to work on another free-to-play game, and I'm pretty much with him there. So That'll tell you something.
Yeah, so are you looking for like buy to pay,
Yeah, we're
subscription?
hoping for a premium box title, and then some way of keeping the lights on. Could be DLC, could be other things that we sell on along the way. Our Peter and the team are very good about writing optimized servers. At least they've convinced me that that's true. So like, I believe that our costs are going to be very low. So like, I think we're in a good place there to keep the game running. Um, but yeah, we want to align our financial incentives and design incentives with what the players want. And free to play often doesn't do that.
Mhm.
It makes you think about weird things that the players need to do. So they give you money. Um, so yeah, we just doesn't, it's not really our jam right now at this stage in our careers and the game we're trying to make.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm personally trying to stay away from microtrans at all. And but I think for mods, it would be very interesting if people who made mods had a way of monetizing them. Yeah, sort of like you do at Roblox or whatever. And I think that would be ideal as a way of keeping the lights on, as Phil said.
So to make sure I'm understanding, you mean like somebody in the community could design a mod and then like potentially sell that, and that would be a source of revenue both for you and them.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Cool.
they could sell it, or they could use a premium currency within it that allows them to do microtransactions in the mod, even though we're not doing it. There'd be different models, right? They could sell the mod, access to the mod, or they could potentially sell some other things within the mod. They could ask for donations. I don't know. We don't really know, but
Yeah.
the point is that there's a premium currency that the mod makers can use to monetize their mods. Then that gives them an ability to keep the lights on for themselves, and it creates like this mutually cooperative uh, society. I think that could work out really well.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because we do see like more and more developers put in like a ton of effort into making mods for other games and even like that's spawning whole new games almost. So definitely think that's a really cool move that ends up with like a lot of a lot of new interesting stuff. Um,
That's like our long-term idea, vision, whatever you call it, is like, I say, especially Peter and I, we've talked about this, saw what happened with Warcraft 3 and Defense of the Ancients, and then it turned into MOBAs. And I had my own company, and I was working with Peter's brother, and we were looking at like what kind of game do we want to make. It was a small, like, web-based game, and he was talking about, oh, there's this mod on Warcraft 3, and he was explaining it to me, and I'm like, it sounds so weird. Like, there's lanes, and this, it's like, tell me again how this works. And it's like, it seems so particular. And we were like, oh, let's do a little prototype for it or whatever. And then Riot announced that they were going to start their own company and do something about that. And I was like, okay, well, a lot of people probably had that idea, but like, it was something that I believe that no publisher or developer of scale would have taken a bet on that game design,
mhm.
because it did seem very strange. And when it was explained to me, it didn't seem like it could scale. Like, how are you just going to keep playing this map again and again and again, or this map type?
Yeah.
And but the players knew what they wanted, and they knew that RTSs weren't the best for this esports boom that was happening all over the world. There's a lot of things wrong with RTSs as a game design
Yeah.
for esports, and so they just organically Darwin, and through natural selection came up with this thing. And we think that happens so much in game genres, and we think it hasn't happened enough in ARPGs because it takes so much work to make an ARPG just to stand it up. Especially a client server one with loot and persistence and stat systems and all this kind of stuff. So we're hoping that people will innovate on top inside the ARPG genre and come up with something crazy that nobody could have ever thought about,
Yeah.
and that they'll build it on. And they won't go start their own version of Riot. They'll be able to make a business in our platform.
That's very cool. Awesome. No, I'm super excited to hear that. I think that's a really good approach to it. So I was playing the game again a bit before doing this interview, and I'm really curious what's going to be your approach to like classes and skills. Obviously, like Path of Exile has an insanely big skill tree, and right now it's pretty limited. What's in the game right now? Where do you see that progressing?
I think we will. It won't be too much different than a lot of ARPGs out there. I don't think it'll be because you want to keep getting more. It's still an ARPG. You still want to just get more powerful, get more loot, get better skills, get better synergies together, and all those things. So there's not going to be anything radically different than other ARPGs. I don't know other than it'll get nowhere near as complex as Path of Exile, or I don't say nowhere near as complex, but the skill tree will be a lot less complex. I think right now our skill tree is just all active stuff, right? There's no passives in there. There are some kind of passive mods to some degree, but I don't even really like those. I want the skill tree to be all active. I want there to be passives and stuff to be in different systems. Like you see the tattoo system has room for that, but we're going to layer on some different systems for that kind of thing. So I think skill tree wise, it'll be active skills that slot in your taskbar or your mouse buttons, and ways to modify those skills. And there'll be a lot more than there is now. Again, we're just playing to level 7 or 8 right now.
Yeah.
So I think that a class will have a class will have 3 trees. Is our brief idea. Like there's 3 little trees in there now. We also have the idea that you can multi-class. Now we haven't done this, but let's swap out one of those trees for a different class's trees and create even more combinations of things to do, of things to try. Within those trees, how many skills are there? There might not be that many. Maybe there's only 7 or something like that. Which at least to start. But then again, ways to modify them, ways to get synergies between the trees, we already are working on right now. So those kind of things. I think there might not be as many skills in a lot of games, is what I'm trying to say. At least where we stand right now. If we can keep going forever, we can do a lot. But it might seem. I'm worried that it sounds limiting, but I think we'll be able to do a ton with not that many skills.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's early days.
Yeah.
Like it's early. We'll have more skills, hopefully, than what Erich is saying. But I just wanted to add, sorry for interrupting you, Sis, but the tattoo system that you saw for the witch that you just discovered right before the stream, that's supposed to be only for the witch. Like, so that's something that's kind of unique. Like we want every class to have its own unique way of using runes that is different for every class. And I think that's something that's pretty unique, where classes have their own specialized inventories that, aside from the regular slots.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that. That's really interesting. Yeah, I discovered that right before, and I was asking, I was thinking, is tattoos, or not even just about tattoos, is a system, is there gonna be, do you think, a reason, not to use them? Like an item you can only use if you don't have any tattoos, that type of thing? I would love to know your approach to that, because as a player, my favorite thing that a game does is that everything is a bit of a hard choice. Not everything, but most things are a bit of a hard choice. I feel like when there is an obvious choice, there just isn't one, right? It's just the way to play. So I would love to know your thoughts on that.
I mean, I think you already saw that with the rune, the one rune that you found, which changed the Bloodlash to Entangle, and not everyone's going to want to do that.
Yeah.
So one of the ideas we have for tattoos is that they make sort of changes to skills that are those types of choices, right? Like you'll get a modification to a skill, and it may not be exactly what you want. It changes it to be something a little bit different, and that may not. It's not always going to be good, depending on your build.
Yeah, I really like the way the tattoo system in our minds works, and to some degree, there's only 3 runes in the game right now, but they change the way skills work in kind of a big way, but in a relatively swappable way. So you could, let's say we have the Bone Storm skill. If a tattoo changes the Bone Storm to be a fire weapon, it starts lighting everything up on all the time. That might be really cool at that point in a build you have, because maybe you're trying to push fire. You've got a lot of fire-related synergy things going on. But then, hey, what if I get a new ice weapon, and I really want to? It's just a much better weapon. And now my tattoo that turned my bone storm into a fire weapon no longer really fits. I'd rather stick with the shadow that makes them more susceptible to the fire. So it's a way to modify the skill, just like, but not commit to it like you're
Yeah.
committing in a tree to these things. So I really like the vision that Peter's got here of that they modify skills in interesting ways so you can just try all kind of new things, but you're not locked into them as much as your build, your tree build.
That's really cool. That was what I was going to do as a follow-up question, is talking a little bit about what are your thoughts on like respecking and permanent choices and stuff, because we saw in both Path of Exile 2 and Last Epoch, they were both going for permanent ascendancy choice, and that being something you could never change again. Both of those ended up later changing them after a lot of like feedback from players. So what are your thoughts on respecking? Do you want people to be able to freely change or change at a cost?
This isn't going to be super popular, but I always kind of design for almost no respec at all. But then that's how I design and how I play. But we always like those games. You always change to make them respectable because there's just too much demand out there, and people make a lot of great cases. I don't need it because I play this game 100 times, and I have to anyway. So might as well just commit to a build. But people don't have all the time in the world, and they don't want to, make mistakes. So we always start. Okay, we give them a slight way to respec. Maybe you can respec the last choice you made, and then I always end up giving in, and everything is pretty much completely respecable, which is fine. I think that we'll end up in that way. I'd like there to be some sort of cost to it.
Yeah.
Maybe you should quest for it. Maybe you should devote some time or devote some resources to that kind of thing. So it's not just like it doesn't matter what choices you make. There's some balance, but for sure there'll be in the end respec.
Yeah, personally, I'm a big fan of like the base class being permanent. Like you're making a witch, you're a witch. But like
Right.
maybe your multi-class could be respec or your skill points and stuff. So big fan of that personally for sure.
The thing about get back to the skill design philosophy, and I mean everything these guys have said, but I was reading what people were saying in chat, and somebody said like the PoE. I'm not dissing on PoE. It's not my game. It is too complicated for me, but I'm talking to somebody who's very, very good at it. So it is not, this isn't Bible, but somebody said, it creates the illusion of depth, right? And whether or not that's true, that's my perception. And I think that's kind of our philosophy. I think, if I can speak for all of us, is, real depth and real synergies, and trying to look like a skill that can have all these different implications with everything. And when we throw in dynamic terrain and environmental effects and monster AIs that have different behaviors based on different, like a skill can have a lot more utility if it's designed. It's not just one pew pew that has one thing that it does in one case, and then you have 100 varieties of that. It's like like Bloodlash is a pretty interesting utility skill, and there's a lot of ways to play it, and there's a lot of implications it can have, and you can your mind will spin out with kind of easy mods to do it. Like maybe it sucks me in instead of the monsters, or maybe it can chain, like all kinds of things you can do out of this interesting mechanic.
Yeah, maybe you can grab terrain and you can use that as a projectile and shoot it
Yeah.
back at the monsters.
Spider-Man around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, PoE has a lot of depth. I just
Yeah.
want to interject
I was
that
about to
we
say
should
that, yeah.
we should not be making that
but
comparison.
it's like a different, maybe a more like Matt Householder at Blizzard used to always say, like, easy to learn, hard to master, and that's kind of always stuck with us, I think.
Well, yeah. So I was going to say that as well and comment on that, because that's the thing that's somebody said on Reddit that really resonated with me, and they said that Path of Exile 1 is like they give the players Legos, and Path of Exile 2 is like giving the player IKEA furniture. So it's a little bit more like preset, like you should use this skill with that skill. and stuff like that in PoE 2, which does make the game a lot more accessible. And in some ways, PoE 2 ends up being almost like onboarding for PoE 1 to lessen the complexity of it. And I thought that was a really good analogy personally. And I wanted to bring that up because I was curious, how are you going to approach things like just like weight in the game, and also like pressure? Like, do you want it to be sort of like that the moment-to-moment gameplay is like something you can relax, where you can maybe be watching a TV show or a movie while playing, and you're like grinding? Obviously, we see like Path of Exile 1 has like full screen clearing, Torchlight and Infinite has like full screen clearing, and yeah, what type of level are you aiming for the friction to be at in the game? Because we're seeing some massively different approaches to that between, if we compare Path of Exile 1 to No Rest for the Wicked. So I would just love you to talk about that a little bit.
I think it kind of, we're sort of organically coming up with our own pace. I think you probably find that that the Moonbeast game here has its own unique pace, and it's a I think it has a lot to do with how monsters are moving around and how the terrain kind of affects this combat. But I don't really think it's appropriate. It doesn't feel like I want to do full screen clearing right now. I kind of like the idea that these monsters are behaving in such a way that you're kind of individually picking targets a lot.
Yeah.
There's room for that. We can certainly make skills that do that, and we have, in the past played with those kind of things. But I feel like the pace is kind of setting itself to some degree, and I'm actually kind of pretty happy with it. You will get more powerful. There'll be tougher monsters. There'll be bigger swarms. But I don't think we're not identifying it as a goal to, hey, we want to do that kind of thing. At the same time, the No Rest for the Wicked, where everything is sort of like a mini Dark Souls fight, is not at all kind of what we're looking at either.
Yeah.
You want to feel cool and powerful. I think I always like to say, and it never really is true, but I want to be able to eat a pizza while playing the game, or I'm watching a football game while playing the game. So I like the way that we pace it here. That you can kind of take on extra hard challenges, and you can try to get real good at it, but you can also kind of fall back and be lazy and just kind of take your time and pick stuff off. That's what I like. That's the kind of pace I like.
That makes me so happy to hear, because like my favorite thing, and I've talked about this a few times. Initially, when I said this for PoE 2, I got a lot of backlash until the game came out, and then people were like, "Never mind, you're right." I love when a game has a lot of choice for both, where you can have your moment-to-moment gameplay, especially if you choose to. You can do sort of like AFK farming, where you have something where you are talking to someone, you're just chilling on Discord, or you are watching a show while grinding, and you're working towards a goal, right? But then you also have like opt-in challenges, right? Like maybe you want to clear out a village, and that's potentially really challenging, or you want to do a big boss fight, and you really have to focus for that thing. But I feel like if you make the entire game, like for example, let's say I'm playing No Rest for the Wicked, right? I do have to focus the entire time I'm playing, and that scales with you as well. So there was very little where I could just like not focus and just sort of like do whatever and stuff, and that's fine for a lot of people. But I definitely like when a game gives me like the choices of doing both, really. That's really good to hear.
Yeah, I think that flows again from the fact that I have to play the game constantly all the time, and I just can't concentrate that hard. It can't be hectic all the time. I want to just have fun,
Yeah.
taking it easy.
I think it depends a lot on like what type of hours is intended to be played for the game, because like when you're making a game to be played for like a few hours a day or a session, then yeah, sure, you want the content to be super engaging. You want your player to be like at the edge of their seat the entire time, maybe with like a story or just like the world in general. But when you're designing a game, which I suppose we haven't talked about what type of playtime you're designing for here, but if you're designing a game to be played for thousands, like I'm close to 30,000 hours in Path of Exile. So like if in PoE 1, if the moment-to-moment gameplay was like you can't look away from the screen, that does become exhausting when you're looking at like large amount of hours, which typically we see players do a large amount of hours in ARPGs. Yeah. Which it sounds like you're going for more like thousands of hours of replayability here.
Yeah, I love replayability. I love designing for it and playing it. So for sure.
Yeah, well, that's really cool.
It's like, there's, because the structure of the way the worlds play out, and the events and everything, there doesn't have to ever really be an end. There might be a natural end, and there may be an end that you want in your game, and so maybe we might put that in there. But like, replayable as two axes, it's replayable, meaning I can just keep coming back to the game that I'm in forever and ever and ever, and keep playing it and ever. And there's also replayable, like Minecraft's a good example of both of these axes. Like,
Yeah.
I can jump into an old world that I started 3 years ago and just pick it right back up and be like, oh, I remember this. This is so fun. It's like I was building this thing over there, and there's this dungeon I'm trying to clear, or a cave or whatever. Or I can start a new world, and it's just as exciting because, oh, whoa, I'm in the snow now, and let's go find and see what's going to happen. So, our game isn't Minecraft, right? But it's the same thing. It's fun to start a new world again and again and again because the experience is new. And it's also fun to keep playing in old worlds because, they have a lot of personality and a lot of baked in memories to, all the things that you've done in that particular world.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm super excited for so many of the things you're talking about. I actually have a question when it comes to like defenses for the game, and I was actually surprised, like already there's several like itemization things that I found exciting with like the runes, with like the unique sockets and stuff like that, and I thought that was interesting. I would love to know, how do you feel about defense in an ARPG? Like, I almost feel like at this point in a lot of ARPGs, it's like offense is almost unpoliced. Where in most of the RPGs now, it gets almost relatively easy to get to the point where you're one-shotting bosses. Like you enter a boss fight and just snap, the boss is gone. Whereas I've always felt as a player that defense, and I am biased here as I play hardcore a lot. I don't know if you guys are planning on doing hardcore. But I almost feel like defense is over-policed to the point where I feel like one-shotting a boss, yeah, no problem. Like, we might nerf damage a little bit next patch. Whereas when a player gets so tanky that they don't take damage from the boss, and they've maybe, like, for careful iteration, made a really tanky character that's like, that gets hotfixed almost instantly. And I've always been really surprised by that. So, yeah, I wonder if you have any thoughts on defense in an ARPG.
I think that's really interesting way to put it. The unpoliced offense, whereas defense is like super nerfed, and it's just. I think so. I don't know. I'm going to think about that. I like that, and I do really like this idea. What about a overpowered defensive character? We right now we have almost no defense in the game. Right, there's some resistances and armor. But there's no skills that do anything defensively, which I definitely want to start bringing into as soon as we get another batch in here. And I like that idea. I think I like force field kind of ideas, and then I don't. There's a lot of cool defenses. So actually, some of them are cool, some of them aren't. It's hard to kind of make them. Like automatic dodges and stuff. I've played with a lot, and that's just kind of weird. And it's never that fun. But maybe more triggered kind of skills that do defense. But we need a lot more defense in the game because a lot more defense allows better offenses, for the monsters and what we can do from them.
Yeah.
So it'll be coming in soon. I'm designing skills for that for defense right now. But I kind of like this idea of what if we push that a little bit farther, like that we push offense. I like this.
Yeah, and I have like a little anecdotal story, but because obviously I get to see my audience react to a lot of things, and I remember in Path of Exile in like 2018, 2019, I had a character that was very strong defensively, and he could face tank the Minotaur, and somebody asked in my chat like, "Can you die here?" And I had a character which was like built around standing still, so it like slowly gained defense when standing still, and it had like pretty much just physical and lightning mitigation, like not much else. It was specifically built for this one encounter. And I went through all my defenses and I was like, no, I pretty much can't die here. These are my defenses. And I walked it through, and the person in chat was like, oh, that's actually really cool. And I always thought that was so much cooler than, a few years later when I'm walking up to a boss and just snapshotting it out of existence, because you don't get to see the boss. and maybe both extremes are bad, but I always find it really fascinating that in nearly every RPG I play, we're always leaning towards the offense, and I just found it fascinating that it's not the other way, because you don't get to see the boss, you don't get to see the abilities. So sure, you can't die, there's no risk of death when you specialize a character that much, but at least you get to see the boss.
Yeah, I
Even
like
if the
that.
build, like, I forget what the build was. I played some WoW for a while, but I'm not like a hardcore WoW player. But I remember a mage build that, it was all about shields and for you're either invulnerable or you're glass. And it's like it was exciting because it was really really hard to, not hard, but like to manage that, right? It's like I'm invulnerable, and then you do one little thing wrong and it's like, holy shit, oh, I'm almost dead. And it just creates gameplay, like defense, kind of active defense like that. If
Yeah,
everybody wants dual wield shields too, and apparently in chat, so I don't know.
a lot of people want dual wield shields. Sure.
It's a little bit strange, but it reminds me of Slay the Spire. I play Slay the Spire a lot. It's a roguelike card game. There are fights that I get so much defense. And I've built up so much armor or shields or whatever they call it. I can't even remember right now. I never know the terms anyway. That there's no way I can lose the fight. It's like suddenly do some misbalances and some lucky things on my hand. I've got like 180 armor or whatever it's called before they can hit me at all, and the fight's over. It doesn't really matter. I can take my time. I out defensed that one fight. What I kind of like is that you kind of have to take some chances and you kind of get there. So maybe that would be a really cool way to be. Yeah, you are invulnerable, but you had to kind of get there through some luck and some decisions. And
Yeah.
it's not like for the entire rest of the game, but maybe for that boss fight, you do become unbeatable. It would be pretty fun if you made the decisions to get there.
Yeah, yeah, like it's all about. I think a really wonderful thing I appreciate as a player is when I feel like I've figured something out, like I feel like I've broken the game. And I think Vampire Survivors and those that genre gives that feeling really well right now to a lot of players. It almost feels like you're doing something forbidden as a player, like, oh, the devs clearly didn't intend for this. And usually it is intended, but giving that player a feeling of that, I think can be really impactful and very cool.
Yeah, I love that. By the way, I despise balance almost. There has to be some, but I want there to be high highs and low lows and the feeling that you've broken the game. And I hope that soon after that, you're like, oh my God, my equipment is crap. And then, then you find something great that changes the whole. I like the big spikes and things. You beat the game temporarily, but then, it falls off and you're struggling for a little while. And that's how I like that kind of design way more. I never start with balance on
Yeah.
design. I never look at balance between classes or anything, or skill paths. I like to. We've talked about this before, but I like viability as as my keyword. So when people complain on the team, hey, I'm trying to play this build with these skills, it's not like, oh, it's got to be as good as everyone else. I just copy their build and then tweak things to make it viable and make it fun.
Yeah.
Fun first, viability second, balance a distant 10th is
Yeah.
you run into problems with PvP on that, but otherwise that's how I love to design.
I love to hear that for sure. Another thing I wanted to ask was something about like hardcore mode and also what happens when you die. Is that like things you've explored already?
There will certainly be hardcore mode. I love it. I often play that myself in all these games. So there are definitely going to be hardcore mode. What was the second part of that question?
Like if you aren't playing hardcore mode, is there any loss on death, like durability, temporary items, anything like that?
I'm not 100. I'm not sure. There will be something. There's some reason. We've talked about a few different ways. I think Peter talks about it more. So let's open it up to Peter. Where's he thinking right now?
I actually haven't given that much thought to death penalty in non-hardcore modes. I mean, I agree. There's going to be some sort of penalty. Like right now, you can restart, wherever the last checkpoint was,
Mhm.
which is okay. I mean, it's a little bit of a penalty, but we'll probably have more. But yeah, it's not something I've
There's
given a ton of thought to.
there's a thing that I've been trying to get this as a private league mod for Path of Exile, and I just want to bring it up. Um, I don't. So I recently did a softcore event in PoE 2, and it was sort of medium core. So the way we did it was that anyone could individually die infinite times, but if your entire group was dead at the same time, you were fully out of the event, right? So there's a form of medium core, and that's something with
Yeah.
the with your model that you could like explore on an individual level, that you could like let the server host or whatever choose, like, well, on this server you lose like one item when you die at random, or 5 items, or maybe you can die 3 times. Like there's a lot of options you can do there for a medium core for people that don't want like the full you lose everything when you die.
That's
Yeah,
definitely part of the modding experience. Like we want people to be able to mod those types of things for sure.
Yeah.
we're going to have resources in the game, for crafting and for building. Uh, Resources is much more palatable to drop than or lose some of than items. Your gear is in an ARPG to lose is very strange. It almost doesn't even work. You could conceivably drop them like D2 or D1 corpse run type of style. Uh, and I don't know. That's again, that would be kind of a fun thing to choose on a server level or on a.
Yeah.
But I don't know that people don't really like that in ARPGs. I've found.
I love it.
Tarkov,
Okay.
yeah,
Oh,
Tarkov.
memories
Yeah.
are corp runs, but that was a long time ago, and you know,
Yeah, I actually have a fun story there. So I accidentally started playing hardcore in Diablo 1, which didn't have a hardcore mode. But I was playing on an ISDN connection, so whenever we got a phone call, the connection would drop, anything like that. And it was just unstable in general. And when you died in an online Battle.net game and your connection dropped, if there was nobody else on the server, everything's gone. You don't like spawn back with it in town like you did in single player. So I would like have like at least 2 or 3 times where I didn't lose my character, but I lost all my gear, and I was like, oh no, I gotta start over now. So that was always an interesting experience with basically playing hardcore early. So I was very excited when that came for Diablo 2. So I at the end of the playthrough there, I was getting a bunch of audience questions that people in my chat were curious about. So have you already started thinking about some sort of like release year, early access year? Like what sort of timelines are we looking at?
I think that there's an off chance we could get something in front of people by end of next year. You know, it depends on if we shoot for that, we could do it. I think it's probably going to take longer for at least an actual release, almost for sure. Versus some early access version or whatever. Our plans are super grand, and we've got to rein them in and release something at some point, and hopefully build from there and allow people to mod from there. But we don't talk about it too much and don't have right now
Yeah.
a target.
Yeah, that's fair.
it's
One of the reasons, sorry, I was just going to say, one of the reasons for an early access, like early access, is to give modders an ability to get in there, get their hands dirty, start working with the systems, learning how to mod, create like content, right, that could potentially be there on release, like and just sort of iterating with both modders and players in terms of improving those systems.
Yeah. Cool. Um, yeah, so a lot of people want me to ask this. Is there gonna be something like a secret Kyle level?
Yeah. For sure that we love Easter eggy type things like that, and they occur to me all the time while we're playing. The secret cow level though that was kind of a fan creation. It was a fantasy in the eyes of some players that became the secret. If we just put in the secret cow level and people weren't talking about it beforehand, it wouldn't really be the same thing. It would just
Yeah.
be a weird level that we made. So I think that Easter egg things like that are best when they kind of develop secondarily after players are already in there, after people are already kind of making rumors. That's why that one was such a cool one. Other Easter egg like the chat gem was another kind of famous one that. And things like that. I don't know. I love them and they feel great. And the way we develop, we kind of like everybody to be in charge of their own systems. So a lot of team members are able to put in Easter egg type things like that much easier than a lot of studios I've seen. They're very producer heavy and things around schedules, and no one has time to do crazy little things. I think we have all the time. We have great time to do crazy things. So there should be lots of cool stuff like that.
Awesome.
I mean, in our game, it's like, think of all the weird recipes and things you can do in Minecraft. Like there's so much room, and even in stream when we had our creator event, people were digging down. How far can I dig? And we got to find something down there. It's like there's so much room for putting those kinds of things in the game, like more than any other game I can think of, really. And so, yeah, there's got to be stuff like that. But if you talk about it, then it's not a secret, right? So
I actually
maybe
like.
there's something there already. Who knows?
Yeah, for sure. I actually have to ask, like, since we've been talking about Minecraft a lot, have you guys talked about like literally something like a nether portal, like that type of like interaction?
Sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like being able to go, not just have a realm, like not just have the necropolis come into your world, but find a portal to go into the netherworld. Like that's a natural thing that we would want to do. Maybe even take it over and make it part of your world then, or extract stuff out on a limited time basis. And Mhm.
Yeah, you found you say you found just recently the parasite, what you called the sun or something, in the gloom out there. That guy might have something to do with portals to something like the netherworld.
Somebody just mentioned fishing. Fishing would be super fun in our game.
I know that would be really cool. I love fishing in Path of Exile, so that would be interesting. Um,
Fishing in the netherworld
well, that'd be sick.
or netherfish.
Another question from chat is: are you hiring? And people are also worried or are wondering about the size of your studio and stuff.
We are not currently hiring. We're like 12 people with some contractors that help out here and there. We're a small team. It's a challenging time to make games in this business.
Yeah.
And so we've had to be super economical. And when you were asking about when do we ship it, there's realities that we have to work around just based on the can we get enough money to make it by whatever point. So we're keeping our options open. We're being very flexible, and we'd like to be able to hire a few more people at least, because right now we can't work on things in parallel very much. Like especially on the engineering side, you got one person can work on one thing, and then he's got to move over to the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So keep your if you're looking for work and you've got skills, we'll post it usually we post on, Discord and moonbeast.com, the company website, when we have openings.
Yeah. Awesome. Chat was also more curious about when it comes to itemization. In other games, we have things like set items, Diablo 2 had rune words. I see there's runes in the game already, which went on the character, not on items. Unique items, etc. I would love to just hear a little bit more about itemization. You also mentioned crafting, which is currently not in the game. Yeah, let's talk about that.
So I guess this is my time to point out that Erich invented random item affixes, and he's always a little bit too humble to take credit for that. But he was the first person to put that into any game, I think, whether paper or on computers. But yeah, like we're
To
good.
clarify that a little bit, I sort of stole it from the old Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Maker Handbook or the Dungeon Master Guide. They had a random item generation system in there that was just like +1 sword. But basically, I was kind of a nerd, and none of my friends liked Dungeons and Dragons, so I would just make campaigns for myself, and no one would play them with me. So all the randomized stuff in those guides were great because I could kind of just randomize a game that I would play, or at least I'd pretend that other people were playing. Sounds nerdy, but I definitely was. And so I cribbed it from that system really, and just kind of worked at it from there. And then of course Brevik was super good at thinking about ideas for that too.
Yeah.
So this kind of the sky's the limit. I like to think up new kind of systems and new kind of items all the time and what we could do with the existing stuff. To some degree, though, Peter is now kind of the itemization guy. We talk about it a lot, but he's kind of got the ideas for the rune words. He created the rune word system, for instance. I don't know. Peter's got a lot of great ideas, and I'm definitely capable of making them work out and play fun in the game. So we're tag teaming on that, but I'm sort of taking my cues from Peter.
Well,
So
I'm so curious, real quick. By the way, do you still play D&D?
Yeah, I think the last time I played was about 3 or 4 years ago with David Brevik again. He was the dungeon master. Yeah, and it crashed right with COVID. We were starting to get a good game together, a good campaign, played a few good rounds, but then COVID came up and we just couldn't go over there anymore.
Yeah.
And we haven't picked it up since. We've talked about it, but that was the last time I played.
Oh, yeah, no, I asked because I play active campaign at the moment, so like we're super into D&D as well. Awesome.
Cool.
Sorry, carry on, Peter.
Yeah, so I was going to talk about the runes.
Mm-hmm.
I had some regrets with the rune word system in D2. Like there were certainly some unbalanced rune words in there, but yeah, the runes that you find in our game do not only go on characters; they can also go on items. So we'll have rune words as well. I really like the way runes work as a economy, like almost a currency thing in D2, where you could exchange runes from one to the other, and you kind of knew that they were in a particular hierarchy, so you had an idea of what they're worth, right? Like, you knew their worth relative to each other, and they formed a basis for trade that sort of replaced like perfect gems and SOJs and stuff like that in D2 at some point. And I liked how all that worked out. So I don't think there's been any big ARPGs since D2 that had runes and rune words. So that's definitely one thing we're bringing back. The game that you're playing right now, I think, or that you played, only had like 1 or 2 legendary items. So they were pretty hard to find. But we're definitely going to put in tons of legendaries for like every base type. Certainly, like you can look at how Project Diablo does it, where there's just lots of things to find across every level. Like one of the great things about Diablo 2 was finding like a unique item, early on and letting that carry you through like 15 levels or something. So that'll go into the game as well. And then there's also the cube. I don't know if you found there's a cube. I shouldn't call it a cube. There's the puzzle box that you can find, and there's some crafting that you can do in the field there. But we'll also have NPC enchanters that allow you to do other types of crafting.
I think I found it if it had like a skill book inside it that I used.
Yeah, and you can use that to transform items as well. There's probably only like 5 recipes in the version of the game that you played, but you'll be able to find recipes that tell you what they are. I just haven't had time to put them in yet.
Awesome. Cool. Oh, actually, another thing I noticed was that there's currently no scaling in the game. A big pain point for me in games is when I go back to a zone that I was struggling with earlier, and now it's even harder. It's leveled up with me. Through no like actual in-game mechanics. It's I level, they level. How do you guys feel about scaling in games?
I kind of hate scaling. I think Brevik and I talk about this all the time, and he's talked about it. He hates it so bad that now I think he's infected me. I almost can't stand it. But so for the kind of the reasons you're saying, it kind of doesn't matter where you go, and at times you feel like you're getting weaker, and that's never any kind of fun. But I want to correct you that there is scaling, in that with the Lich event, it scales the monsters up. So I think
Yes.
it doesn't auto scale to your level, but we will change the level of things in game due to and procedural stuff.
Yeah, but that's a great way of doing it. That way it makes sense for sure.
Yeah. So no, I don't like auto scaled to your guy. I like, again, to just set your own pace. So you want to get OP and you want to play with pizza in your hand the whole time, and just fight the lower level guys. That's fine. You want to stretch it. Say, you know what, my guy's pretty badass. I'm gonna go try to grab some high level loot. But you could do that now in the Lich event too. Hey, I'm just going to run in there and hope to get some good drops, kill a couple monsters, even though our level difference is pretty high. If you're level 4, it's almost impossible to fight a level 7 guy in the game right now. So I like it that way. I think it does a lot of cool things that auto leveling, it's an easy design solution to make, I guess, but it's no fun.
Subjectively, like, how do you know when you're getting strong? Like,
Yeah.
you have to run into something that kicks your ass and then go do something else for a while and come back, and you can maybe barely beat it, and then you go and get stronger, and then you come back and now you're kicking its ass, and that's the best feeling in these kinds of games. And if you don't have that,
Yeah.
I don't know how anybody thinks it's a good idea, really.
And especially in like a multiplayer game, there was a clip of me. I'd played in a party in D4, and we had like a group synergy. And so I couldn't do much solo, but then obviously the monster is still scaled to my level, and I was just like in the open world fighting a random polar bear. And at this point, the polar bear was actually quite a challenge. But then I saw a level 3 character walk by and 3-hit the polar bear, and I was like, bro, like I'm level 100, and a level 3 character just like 2-hit this thing that actually takes me like 20 seconds to kill. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. So I'm glad to hear that. Like, I think there's a lot of other cool ways to do it where, like, obviously I know there's a copyrighted system, but if you're familiar with the Nemesis system, in Shadow of Mordor and stuff, like that type of system makes a lot more sense, right? When there's a reason for why the world scales, or like with your world, right? Like the Lich event, like there's a reason the world scales. That's a lot less frustrating.
The whole world can scale on a cadence, but then it's like, it's objectively different than what your current scale is. It's not just matched you procedurally.
Have you guys talked about, I know you said you didn't like microtransactions at all, but is there going to be anything like cosmetics or anything like that? Also storage space, like stash space?
For sure there will be both, but whether they're tied into microtransactions, probably not. Again, we don't have a fixed model right now. I think I understand why Path of Exile, for instance, does that kind of stuff. It's their whole model, and it's working for them. And I'm not against it, but it feels weird to me that, hey, pay a little bit more to get a new stash tab or those kind of things. I'd rather not charge for those. And I like the convenience for players. So if it's part of the game, it should be part of the base game. Hopefully, it works out.
Awesome. Another question is about WSD, mouse, controller support. At the moment, it's mouse and keyboard. What's the future look like?
We have controller support right now.
Okay.
It kind of, I don't know what it's like right now in the build you're playing. And it takes, we develop for mouse and keyboard, but then we get the controller up and working. I wouldn't say it's great, but it definitely works, and we definitely intend to have it. We argue about WSD. I think we will have it. I think it'll be probably more Diablo style than Path of Exile 2 style. People talk about, do we want to strafe and sidestep and stuff in the combat? And I don't think we would allow you to do that, because it's just too different experience for people who are playing in the other ways.
Yeah.
I feel like the game you have to make it that way, which is okay choice, but it's not kind of the way we're going with combat feels like.
Well, I also noticed when I was playing, you have magic find, you have orb find, you have gold find, and that's been a pretty contentious topic in a lot of games. Um, I just want to hear you guys talk about it, magic find and stuff. What are your thoughts?
I love Magic Find. It's a little bit of a trade off, you know. I'm going to be a little bit weaker because I don't have a combat affix for a little bit chance for finding magic and gold and stuff. Uh, I don't know. I'm not too concerned balance wise myself. I know people have a lot of valid concerns, and the games have gone wrong with these kind of things. Uh, but I think we'll just watch it develop in our game and make the system for our game. It'll be different because we just do everything different anyway. So I don't want people to worry too much that it'll be broken yet until
Yeah.
it's actually broken.
Okay, fair. Is there going to be a Moonbeast in the game?
There might be already a moon
Okay.
beast in the game.
Okay, cool.
Seems like a pretty low hanging fruit.
Yep, I had to ask it. Is it going to be exclusively for PC, or are you looking to have it on like console, mobile, eventually? Like, what are the thoughts there?
That's like we would like it to be on all things, right? Like PC and console, and it's just a question of budget, you know. So at some point, if the game does well, certainly that would be our hope. But realistically, launching on PC first is, what's attainable for us.
Yeah.
Give us more time to test it and iterate on it, and make sure everybody likes it. And if it makes a ton of money, then consoles would be a good way to go.
Cool. I have one final question, and it's something I care a lot about. Opacity sliders, both for like players, NPCs, like that kind of thing. What's your vibe on that? Is that something you'd let the players have?
I haven't thought about it at all.
To make the UI
No, so
Yeah.
ARPGs in
Actually-
general have like so many issues with screen gore, where there's just like so many abilities happening you can't really see the screen. So what a lot of us are asking for in a lot of ARPGs is being able to tone down the opacity of skills. Maybe not like make them invisible entirely, but even putting it down to 50% or something would make it a lot more bearable. I'm not exaggerating when I literally had sunglasses on my screen for one of the Path of Exile 2 builds I played. It was, I can show you a screenshot later, but it was actually like insane. And like you could see on my stream that like my entire room was flashing every time I was attacking.
Shouldn't we just
So
try to reduce all that screen gore and not get to that point?
So I want to say I've never seen a quality of life suggestion that I didn't want to put in the game. Like, if it makes sense to improve the player experience, it makes sense to put in the game. That's my opinion on all of that. I mean, obviously not things that affect balance, but like if there's any feature that would improve the interface experience that a player has with the game, I can't imagine not wanting to put it in.
That's a great answer.
Yeah,
And
I agree with that too. From an art perspective, I would say that I feel like a lot of the screen gore that's happened, the clown vomit stuff that's happened in modern games, I don't like why. How did it get there? I mean, Diablo 2 has some of that, in the end game, but like I think maybe I don't say be controversial, but like I think maybe that's disguising a lack of excitement in the actual gameplay. We just throw more vomit on the screen to make it seem exciting.
well,
Um,
I also
it
think.
comes into play.
Oh, sorry, go on.
It comes into play with multiplayer for sure. Because if Peter's saying we have 1,000 people in the game, and all those 1,000 guys have the Feast of Crows skill or something going on, it'll be completely nuts. And so as things scale up, it kind of gets. I can see what you're talking about for sure. We did that in Torchlight 2, at least, is in multiplayer.
Yeah.
We scaled back on the particle systems in multiplayer for the other players' particles. That's one version of it, but I'm definitely open, like Peter is, to making it what people want.
I think also
Yeah,
in
when
a
they
way ARPGs are almost impossible to balance on like the super long term, right? Players are gonna find things that are super out of control eventually and stuff, and you will sort of gravitate towards that. So maybe in the short term, yeah, you can just balance things, but when a player has played like 100, 500 hours in one build, it does run away very quick, I think. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say it's not only multiplayer. When the VFX artist designs the VFX initially, they rarely take into account both multiplayer, but also like all the buffs that you get, the cast speed buffs. They also don't necessarily test it against every. I mean, these are processes that we want to build in order to create better VFX, but it's very difficult to test like this VFX, but combined with all the other things that are going on with your character at the same time, right? Usually it's designed a little bit in isolation. So having things like, density or opacity, like whether it's dynamic or a slider that the player controls is a pretty important thing, just to make it so that when things go crazy and we didn't build exactly the right thing ourselves, that people can actually improve their experience and make it like playable.
Awesome. Any final thoughts on that, or?
On the opacity sliders, no, I have to do
Awesome.
more research myself
Yeah,
to figure out
that's
what.
fair. That was pretty much all the questions I had. I'm, on a personal level, just so excited for what you guys are doing here, and so much of what you're talking about. I'm just like, yes, like more of this. I'm just super excited to see what you guys are working on. I'm very hyped. Huge thank you for coming out and doing this podcast with me. Hopefully we can do more in the future. And yeah, just super excited.
Really appreciate the opportunity. And, you found us pretty late in the event, and watching your reaction when you first played it was really a joy to see. It was, you kind of getting excited about it in real time as you were playing it with no context going into it. And then, yeah, really, really appreciate you helping to spread the word. When I'll make a little plug. So like, not
For it.
just to be aware of playtests and stuff, but like any kind of, if you sign up for our mailing list at moonbeast.com and you sign up for our Discord, that helps us show that there's interest, to potential publishers and investors, and we are looking for more funds. We've done a lot with the money that we've been able to raise so far, but we're going to need more to build this game. So yeah, help us by signing up, and then the more people we have that we can show are interested in what we're building, the easier time we have to find the people with the checkbooks who also believe in what we're building.
100%. Mods, let's spam the link in chat if you like what you've heard so far. They're working on a lot of cool stuff. I'm personally very excited in it. So we'll link the website in chat right now. It is the pinned message as well. And yeah, very excited. Moonbeast game. Excited to find out their real name at some point as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much. We'll wrap it up there. I'll make sure we include that in the description in YouTube as well when I upload it, so that hopefully you guys get more signups. But yeah, huge thank you.
Thank you, Adrian.
All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Matt.
Awesome. We'll end it there.
All right.
And yeah, thanks for everything. I'll see you guys later.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.